Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard, finishing up my shift tonight. Going to do a ask me anything question and answer. So I will hang out here for about 3 to 5 minutes, see if anybody jumps on the stream. If you guys are interested in asking me any questions or talking to me about anything tonight, I am here with open dialogue. I am finishing off the night with Liquid Death. See if you guys can get a picture of that. So I'll share something with you guys. I have a real issue with alcohol. Okay. And I've made a Matthew, what's up, bro? I've made a real effort to cut alcohol completely out of my life. So I have not had any whiskey or liquor in over 2 months. And I have not had any wine or beer in over 1 month. And so what I had to do, because like every night when I would get off of work, I would have anywhere from 2 to 3, maybe sometimes even 4 beers. So what I had to do was kind of wean myself off of regular beer onto like White Claws and Truly, stuff like that, that had more of that like hard spiked water taste. And once I got to where I was drinking like, 2 or 3 of those 100-calorie spiked waters, then I was able to switch to just carbonated water like this. So this Liquid Death is like 10 calories. There's some CBD waters that are out there that are 0 calories, the Celsius, things like that. So by drinking the carbonated water, it tastes like I'm drinking a White Claw or Truly. And so that's how I've been able to wean myself off of alcohol. I'm not proud of the fact that I've been an alcoholic probably for the past 4 years. And when I say an alcoholic, I mean a functioning alcoholic. Like I've never been the kind of person that has drank so much that like I couldn't go to work the next day, or had the need or the desire to drink, when I shouldn't, like if I was actually working or doing something. But yeah, just in general, like I just have a desire and an affinity to drink. So it's been real hard, and I've really had to put a lot of time and effort into doing things to make sure that I didn't have to drink. Hang on 1 second. Stand by. Hang on. Got some people creeping up. Hang on. Let me see what's going on. All right. Everything's kosher. Just had to make sure. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing, is getting the alcohol out of my system, getting myself to where I don't have to have it, you know. And then once I was able to, it's been really easy to focus on my fitness. So I've been doing a lot of exercising and trying to replace the desire to drink by focusing on fitness and jujitsu. So Matthew West says, hey, how's it going? Man, it's going great. I appreciate you being here. ZC says, yo, what's up, man? Hello, how are you? Jack Spade Productions says, hi all, how are you, bro? So first question of the night says, any advice on being an unarmed security guard, mobile patrol in a housing project? Man, housing projects are a very dangerous area. My best advice, aside from not working them, I would not suggest that you work that location. But if you have to work that location, if you're making the decision to work that location, I have to respect that. So a couple of pieces of advice. Number one, Get to know the people in that area. Um, get to know the people that are good, hardworking, functioning members of society. But at the same time, get to know the people that are trapping, the people that are, you know, in the gangs. Like, you need to know everybody. You need to know the shot callers, you need to know the players. And it's quite possible, depending on where you're working, that maybe you don't have that. But if you're in a housing projects, there's going to be some nefarious activity, there's going to be some drug usage. I don't care where you're at, I don't care what the demographics are, there's going to be some nefarious activities in the housing project. Get to know the good people, get to know the quote unquote bad people, and remember that on the street, everything is about respect. Watch how you talk to people. Don't allow yourself to be taken advantage of or be a pushover, but at the same time, just, understand the laws of the land and the importance of respect. Aside from that, I would make sure that if you don't have a dispatch system, that you create a dispatch system. What's a dispatch system? That would be someone that knows the site that you're working, what time you're supposed to either be on site or be off site, whether or not you're supposed to check in. If you're working for a company where you don't necessarily have that, then create that. Create that with your wife. If you don't have a wife or a girlfriend, create that with your family members, your parents, where you say, hey, look, I'm going to check in with you guys via text every 4 hours, every 6 hours, whatever it is, so that people know that you're safe. Because when you're working in those environments and you don't have backup, maybe police response is short, you can get into all kinds of situations and something can happen to you. And it can be a long time before somebody knows. So that would be my advice. If you're going to work that, if you're going to work that type of location, you're going to do that kind of detail. Just set yourself up for success. Get to know the people that you're dealing with. Watch yourself. Remember to be respectful to everybody, but be firm, be fair, and then create a dispatch system so people know where you are and when you should be home, when you should be off site, so that if anything happens, they can send people to look for you. Let's see what else we got. CN training helps a ton working in unarmed security. Yeah. Matthew West, more training, the better you get. V Logos, are you a real cop? This is called the Security Guard channel for a reason, people. And CN says he does have dispatch. Okay, so then you're good for that. Blue 97, what tools or training do you feel are important for unarmed security? Like the top 3 tools and training. Top 3 tools. As much as companies get on security guards cases for having their cell phones, your number one thing is your cell phone. Your cell phone in 2024, it does everything. It's your GPS to get to your site. Generally, for a lot of companies, it's how you clock in and clock out. It might be how you scan certain tags or locations, geolocations, for monitoring your site. You can take pictures, you can take reports, you can generate, audio notes to yourself. You can contact 911. You can contact your company. The most important tool that you have working in an unarmed capacity as an officer is your communication. Again, this goes back to what I was just saying to the other guy. It's all about having that lifeline. You're working in an environment where you don't really have a lot of means to protect yourself, and you're more than likely working by yourself. So in that situation, the most important thing is going to be your lifeline to law enforcement, your lifeline to your company, your lifeline to your loved ones. So number 1 would be your phone. Number 2 would be your flashlight. If you're working unarmed and you don't have access to any sort of weaponry, you don't have any access to any sort of protection, a really good solid flashlight like this, it's a Pelican 7600. This is basically a smaller version of a baton. You put this in your hand, you have yourself a fist load if you've got to throw a punch. It's got a nice gnarling on the very front. You guys can't see that, but if you need to use this as a strike or an impact weapon, you can. Clearly, you're able to illuminate things with this. Your flashlight is going to be number 2. Number 3, I know a lot of people would say number 3 would be your OC spray. I'm going to say no. Number 3 is going to be your own individual tourniquet. You need to make sure that if you're in a situation where you can't necessarily return fire, that doesn't mean just because you're not working armed that you don't run the risk of getting shot. You know, people get shot every day in active shooter situations. People get robbed, people get carjacked. And if you're wearing one of those bright stab me now or shoot me here shirts, which is what Allied Universal and those types of companies give out to these unarmed guards, your ability to be able to stop the bleed is very, very important, again, because you're working by yourself. So I would say in no particular order, because I don't want to say that one of these things is more important than the other. You need to have your cell phone, great communication device, and everything else that comes with it. A very strong, durable flashlight. My suggestion is the Pelican 7600 because it's cheaper than your Streamlight, but it's just as good, just as durable, can be utilized in all the ways that a baton can, as well as a flashlight. And then having your own individual first aid kit, definitely having at least one tourniquet, if not 2 tourniquets, okay? Let me see what else. CN says we have security check-ins every hour. That's good. That's good. Yeah. Someone said that I was it says your advice is to ID them. This goes back to working in the housing projects. I never said to ID anybody. I said get to know. There's a huge difference, okay? I never said to ID anybody. I never said to request identification. I never said to demand identification. I said get to know. Getting to know people is creating rapport. 90% of what we do in private security is creating rapport. You are establishing yourself as the person who's going to be in that environment. You're the go-to person in terms of people reporting or telling, you know, something that's happening or something that's going on. And you're also going to be the main person that's going to report that information, either to law enforcement, to the housing authority, or whoever the applicable people are. That has nothing to do with identification. It's all about getting to know the people in the environment that you're in. That is for your own personal safety, and it's also to create rapport with the people that you're working around. Okay. Someone says, can you mutually fight someone? In Washington, you can agree to mutual combat, although I'm pretty sure that would go against security policy. So if you decide to mutually fight someone, you probably should take off your uniform and quit before you do that. What snacks do you usually carry to hold you over? I can't pass up my protein bars. Okay, so I've been on a diet for the past 2 months. I'm down officially 17 pounds. My snacks used to consist of, you know, I like protein bars, but guys, protein bars for the most part, they're just candy bars, right? So I have been purchasing and carrying the packages of tuna, and I get the tuna that's in water. I cannot stand wet, mushy tuna, so I always squeeze all the water out. I try to eat the tuna as dry as possible. Um, so I eat a lot of tuna. I eat a lot of like smoked salmon. I eat a lot of sardines. I'm really into like the canned or the, you know, the fish or whatever. I'm getting older, so the omega-3 oils and things like that work for me. I don't expect you guys to eat that kind of stuff. I keep water with me at all times. I drink a lot of like alkaline water. I'm on a health kick, so most of the stuff that I eat is pretty boring. You know, I'll even take like heads of lettuce at this point just because it's filling and there's not a lot of calories to it, but I'm trying to stick to that and stay away from any of the bad stuff. But You know, I'm sure you guys have better snacks than what I would carry. Oh, one more thing that I do have a lot is I get those cans of bone broth that have like a lid on it that you can drink out of. The bone broth has a lot of protein. I know this it probably doesn't sound very good to anybody, but you asked, so that's what I have. Lots of bone broth, lots of tuna, lots of sardines, and lots of smoked salmon. Let's see. Anthony T says, working a grocery store tonight. Gentleman comes in with no shoes on, which is against policy. Yes, I politely walk over and inform him about the policy, and he starts cussing and yelling. Then he starts throwing baskets. Yeah, that's like a daily occurrence with me. I get that all the time. What do I do in that situation? I usually let people vent and rant. I'm going to tell you like a good thing. Whatever you do when you're working in private security, you have to always have a narrative as to why you're doing it. Because if that person were to freak out, start screaming, yelling, and throwing stuff, and then you go hands-on and remove them, although you know, in a general sense, you're cleared to do that because you have a right to use minimal force to remove someone from property that's either been trespassed or that's being belligerent, right? But in today's society, it's still looked down upon, right? So there needs to be something else that's there. I tend to let people have enough rope to hang themselves. You know, I will continually or repeatedly just ask people nicely to leave the store, tell them that they're trespassing, that I don't want to fight with them. I'll continue to say these kind of things, and I'll say it loud enough to where other people can hear it. I'll make sure that on video and on camera that I'm making gestures that I just want people to leave. I don't want any problems. I'm not here to fight with them. And then as they're screaming, yelling, and being belligerent, at some point in time when enough is enough and I have to go hands on, I now have a better narrative as to why I did that. You know, in my report, it's going to reflect, I gave this person 15 attempts to leave. I told the person 20 times I didn't want to fight with them. I asked the person, you know, 17 times to please leave the store. I informed him 6 times that he was trespassing. You know, at which point in time, after 10 minutes, I, you know, gently guided this person to the door. He became combative and reared back as if he was going to hit me, and I had to do X, Y, and Z. It helps to create the narrative of control, showing that you have more control in that situation as opposed to just going hands on with somebody, which is typically what you kind of want to do, you know, in those situations. Matthew West says, for the unarmed security company I work for, they don't allow anything highlighted for officer safety. We're basically wear all black and almost look exactly like police officers. Yeah. Isaiah Wagner says carry Narcan. Listen, the company that I work for now, they do not require us to carry Narcan. Now, some security companies and one other company that I have worked for in the past, they require their officers to carry Narcan. I don't know if they require it, but most of their officers do. I personally do not feel comfortable Narcaning someone. I don't think that a drug addict or someone who's made the choice to live that lifestyle, that it's my responsibility to try and save them in that moment. A lot of other security guards feel differently. I know that private security guards, for the most part, are going to be protected under the Good Samaritan law. If you were to do that and, you know, somehow something were to go awry and that person were to die, but you know, for my own personal reasons, I do not wish to Narcan people. I don't begrudge any security guard that wants to or feels the need to, but that's not my responsibility, and it's not something that I've been trained on. It's not something that my company has asked for me to do. And you know, for personal reasons, I don't necessarily want to get involved. Now, if I work for this other company that I'm associated with, that might be something that they require me to do, and I might have to have a different, you know, a different approach to it. But as of now, I don't carry Narcan, Isaiah. But again, I respect anybody that wants to. Jack Spade Production says I lost that one. I do carry Tuna and salmon packs a lot. They're good. Same with vegetable packs. Yeah. Labasco says, you work for national security. No, I do not. Someone says, if peace officers are here, should security be the peacekeeper? I don't know what that means. Ling Junaha says, do security need firearms? In my opinion, I think that people working in private security should be armed. I'm a huge 2A advocate, number one. And number two, you know, there's no aspect of security. I think that in the past, the thought process has been that certain locations are less dangerous than others. People have had this thought process that we're going to have unarmed security in this location because it's a low threat environment. And what we have seen is that over the last 10 to 15 years, low threat environments, or environments that are deemed to be low threat, generally are what is called gun-free zones. So people say, hey, it's a school. We don't need to have, firearms in a school. So therefore, we don't need to have security guards with firearms. Hey, this is a hospital. We don't need to have armed security in a hospital. People are just sick when they're here. There's nothing going on that would need to have a armed presence, right? Hey, this is just a bowling alley. Hey, this is just a grocery store. It's just a grocery store. What happens at grocery stores? But in the last 5 years, we've had multiple mass shootings at grocery stores, at convenience stores, at bowling alleys, at schools, and at hospitals, right? So there's no environment in 2024 that is immune to violence, or immune to active shooters, or immune to any potential for there to be some major threat. So to have a response, and that's what security is, you're having security there so that someone is able to respond the exact minute that something happens. To have them be in that environment and not be able to actually do anything, it makes zero sense, right? I can give you 100 reasons why people do it and why they think that it's adequate, but we all know at the end of the day that it doesn't make any sense, right? So yes, I believe that all private security guards should be armed. Now, that being said, everybody can't be armed, right? Everybody can't be armed, every location. That's not a reality, and we have to have unarmed guards. And I don't want you guys, if you're working as an unarmed security guard, to ever for a minute think that I don't appreciate what you guys do or what you bring to the table, because you do a very thankless job, and I respect it. And I understand that sometimes you got to start where you got to start, and sometimes you got to work where you got to work. And that being said, I want you guys to be safe and effective as well. CN says, should I get a vest? Job says I can, but it has to be underneath my shirt. So that would be concealable armor. And yes, you should. If you want to know where you can get inexpensive, I'm not saying cheap. If you want to know where you can get inexpensive concealable armor, I would check Safe Life Defense. One of the great things about Safe Life Defense is that you can purchase their armor on a 4-payment plan. And they also have something called the Angel program. You can actually send them an email and you can say, hey, I can't afford this, but this is my situation. This is where I'm working. This is what I'm concerned about. And sometimes they will just send you armor. It might be used. It might be discontinued. It might be coming from a law enforcement agency, but they actually do give out armor for free for people who are working in situations where they can't provide it for themselves. There's also a nonprofit in Texas, and you would have to Google it, but it's a nonprofit in Texas that provides armor for security guards free of charge. I don't know if they do it for guards who are outside of Texas, but I did see a story on that, and you can check that out as well. Okay. And wearing concealable armor, there's nothing wrong with that. I prefer an outer vest. I mean, at the end of the day, I think an outer vest looks more professional. But hey, if you got to rock concealable armor, then wear it. At the end of the day, as long as you're safe, that's what's most important. Okay. I know that I've got Jack Spade Productions as my moderator. I see that you're clicking people out of here. I appreciate that. Thank you for keeping my chat under control tonight. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'll send you a free patch. Jack Spade Productions, when this goes, once this is all done, in the regular comment section, I'm going to put my email address if you don't already have it. Send me your address and put in the subject matter Jack Spade Productions, and I'll send you a free patch for being a moderator and helping me keep everything clean on here. I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got. I might have missed something. I don't see what Isaiah's talking about. Somebody says hospital security is dangerous. Absolutely. Clockwork 7117, what advice would you give to someone you are training who isn't very good with confrontation yet? I work for a hands-on loss prevention company and training a new guy, and this is a challenge for me. What a great question. What advice would you give to someone you are training who isn't very good with confrontation? I think that the way that you present it is important, right? If you're presenting it as confrontation, so if you're selling it, let's just say this, if you're framing, everything that we're talking about now comes down to framing. I am not a naturally aggressive person. I'm a very passive person. So I understand the anxiety of, and I'm big. I'm 6'1", right now, 254 pounds, right? I'm a bigger person. I understand the anxiety of having to approach someone who's doing something wrong, and you have to be the one to interact with them, whether they're stealing, being belligerent, doing drugs, right? You don't know what these people are going to do. And historically and in the news, we've seen that people can respond in various ways, and sometimes that can be deadly, right? So a person is not wrong for having that anxiety or disposition of not wanting to approach people. But if you frame it as, hey, you have to go confront these people, that brings up the images of all the negative things, right? I would frame it in the way that what you're doing is you're interacting with them on behalf of the store, right? Your interaction with this person is not to confront them personally. You're confronting the action. What's the action? Well, they're stealing, they're, shoplifting, they're doing X, Y, and Z. And whatever the issues that this person has, like, find out what their fears are. Are they fearful that they're going to get into a fight? Are they fearful that they're going to be attacked when they leave to go home at night? Are they fearful that they're going to do something that's going to lead to a lawsuit? Figure out what it is that's creating that anxiety of them confronting people, and then reverse engineer that to where they understand how they can be safe. If they're worried about confronting someone and it turning into a fight, our loss prevention that I work with, that's why we're here, right? The loss prevention officer does not in any way, shape, or form have to interact with someone where they're the ones who are getting involved in the physical confrontation. If it gets physical, that's why we're here, right? I don't know if your location does that. If that's not the case, then how do you address it? Okay, we're going to approach these people, and we're going to stay at a 10-foot distance. We're going to approach these people in a way that we have a shopping cart in between them and us, or we have, 3 people that approach this person as opposed to you just approaching them by yourself. if you're worried about, getting to your car and someone knowing, what you drive, we'll talk about that. All the things that they could possibly be fearful of, figure out what it is that's creating that anxiety, and then find ways to build frames around that they feel more comfortable. That's how I would do that. At the end of the day, though, like at the end of the day, if they're unwilling to do the necessary parts of the job that are important for them to be successful, then they just can't do the job. That doesn't mean they can't work in loss prevention. Maybe they're better on the cameras than they are interacting with the people. Maybe they're better doing paperwork, or maybe they could work at the main office. I mean, there's lots of different loss prevention activities that people can be a part of that doesn't put them in a position where they're interacting. For the company that we service, they have a loss prevention position that works at the main corporate office, and their only job is to check in all of the jewelry that gets distributed to all of the stores. Their job is to, do a pat down or a wand of the people that are coming in to drop off the jewelry, and then make sure when those people leave, they don't have any of the jewelry on them. That's a loss prevention job. And they work from, like, 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, get paid really, really well, and never have to interact with, you know, drug addicts or crackheads or any of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different things that you can do and still be successful without having to be involved in the aspect that's frightening or scary or, you know, anxiety inducing. Someone says, have you ever had a gun at an unarmed post? No comment. Big fella, West Coast. How you doing tonight? Been in security and EP game for 7 years. Salute to you, brother. Hey, salute to you, man. Absolutely. Wayne Pugh says, is there corruption in the police force like the movie Training Day? Yeah, I would say yes. Absolutely. Isaiah Wagner is giving me props for my other videos. I appreciate that. Megan Meadows says, sorry, I only heard the last 2 words in your response regarding Narcan. I really just have to know why you would choose not to Narcan people. I choose to not Narcan people because I do not feel that it is my responsibility to save someone who has made the decision to do drugs recreationally. I think there's a big difference between someone who has chosen to live that lifestyle and a random person. Definitely, if a child were to come in contact with fentanyl and they were to suffer the effects and have an overdose, I would not think twice in helping and Narcaning that person. If a random person came in contact with fentanyl and was suffering the effects and going into an overdose, I would have zero qualms about Narcaning those people. I do not believe that it is my place or my responsibility to Narcan a person that has chosen to live a drug lifestyle. And when working in a capacity for the company that I work for, it's not something that they have trained us on. It's not something that they have asked us to do. So it is outside of the scope of what I'm doing. I have a very specific set of post orders and standard operating procedures. Narcaning people is not listed in that. So that's outside of the scope of what I'm here to do. Clockwork says, thank you. I think finding the source of their anxiety and helping them feel confident. Yeah, I think that's your best bet. Definitely. Someone says, Matthew West, would it be beneficial for security officers, armed or unarmed, to get a criminal justice degree. I think getting a degree in anything is definitely a benefit. I'm a huge proponent of secondary education. I know a lot of people aren't. I know a lot of people, it's kind of chic to say don't go to school. College is a scam. You know, it's a woke environment that we don't need to play into. I 110% understand that. And at the same time, I disagree. I don't think that you can ever go wrong by being better educated. College just, it makes you a better critical thinker. It makes you better at terms of researching things. And I think that the more educated you are, the better you're going to interact with the public. I think that's a great thing. One more. Someone says, have you ever shot someone? I spent 6 years in the military. I worked on a nuclear weapon system. I did not personally shoot anyone in the military, but I helped blow a lot of people up. I don't feel proud about that either. Luckily for me, I have never, at this point, had to fire my weapon. I have drawn my weapon 3 times in my career. There was one more question I wanted to answer. Larry Vinmule says, how did you land your security position? What were the steps you took first? I've been wanting to take that path. Getting into private security is very easy. Finding a good, solid company that pays well, trains you, and cares about your success and longevity is extremely difficult. You can go on Indeed, you can Google, you can look on Facebook, you can find a ton of companies that will hire you today and have you working by this evening. Finding a good, solid, reputable company that legitimately has contracts to offer you enough work for you to make this a career and pay you a decent wage, and this is the hard part, and put you in a position to move through your career and do other things and be successful, extremely difficult. I would say that you can count those companies on 1 or 2 hands. You have to figure out what it is that you want to get out of working in security, and then you have to work backwards. What do you want out of security? If you just want to work a site, you just want to get hired, get a check, not really have to do anything, tons of companies like that. If you want to do something where you can work in an environment that's very similar to law enforcement, to make an impact, to actually interact with people, to be trained, like, you're going to have to do some research and do your due diligence and find those companies. Once you find those companies, figure out what it is that you have to do to become a part of that. There are a lot of great companies out there. There are a lot of great opportunities out there for you to work in private security, and private security is very, very broad. Everything from working at a site where you're watching a door all the way to the Secret Service. That is private security. Well, not private security, but that is security. There are so many options out there from A to Z. You just have to find what it is that you want to do. And when you find a company that does that, figure out what their requirements are, what you have to do to become a part of that program, and then you just work backwards from there. Okay. All right, guys, that's all I got for tonight. I want to thank you for being a part of this broadcast. This was a great question and answer session. I'm very, very proud of all of these questions. These were great questions. A lot of you guys were really thinking, and that's an amazing thing. I'm very, very happy to hear that. Jiu-jitsu tomorrow, working out tomorrow, and creating more content tomorrow. So I will see you guys in a couple hours. I'm gonna go home, give my wife a nice smooch, get something to eat, and take a shower, get in bed, and then hit the ground running tomorrow. Okay, you guys have a great evening. Somebody gave me $1. I appreciate it. Thank you, whoever did that. Y'all have a great evening, and if you're working, please watch your back, be safe, and as always, be great. Okay, you guys be great. Take care.